when you go online and you read about light therapies and just light in general and what it does do and it doesn't do, there's a lot of information. And I say this about pretty much everything now on the internet. You can find something to prove or disprove whatever you want. The same, you can find people that say light therapy is great, it helped my wrinkles. You can have people that say the absolute opposite, and you can find seemingly credible sources for all of this stuff. So from your perspective and what you've seen and experienced, what are some of the biggest misconceptions or lies that are out there on the internet about light therapy?
I'm going to separate this in two different stories. We'll take we'll set aside the legal stuff and look at like some of the myths and that sort of thing. So some of the myths that are perpetuated would be green light. So anything that's got a green LED in it, run. Like green was being promoted by China as, I don't know why, maybe they make more money on green LEDs or something like that, as something that would help hyperpigmentation. And it doesn't work any differently than infrared, amber, blue, red. All of them work the same, wherein on hyperpigmentation, which is it'll work on one person, it won't work on the next 10 that you try it on. Then it works on 3 people, it doesn't work on the next 7, and it doesn't work on the next 40. And then it works again for 2 people. There's like no rhyme or reason for LED helping hyperpigmentation. But when an esthetician uses red, amber, and infrared with the right products, they get unbelievable results but it's because of the skincare products that they're using, and it's consistent, where it'll lessen this hyperpigmentation. And the light just makes the product penetrate better and increases the efficacy of the ingredients, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, testosterone, if you see somebody advertising testosterone, it's total fraud. It's like, maybe somebody can say that their testosterone went up, but there's no clinical proof backing this up. Probably the one of the worst products on the market is anything that's flexible. So any LED pad that's flexible. So the problem with flexible devices is for the last 40 years, they've all gone out of business. And they've gone out of business for 2 reasons. For one, although the printed circuit board that the LEDs are soldered to is flexible, like you can flex it. What isn't flexible is the solder joint itself, and they crack. And so you constantly have repairs. Matter of fact, there's one manufacturer who has sold a lot of devices, and they actually put something in their manual that says, if you don't bend this too far, you might get a shock. Like, I was like really? Like,
wow.
Yeah. So, and the other thyou that's a problem with those is you can't use LED bulbs on a flexible device, because if you've got a flat device and you've got a bunch of bulbs sticking up from it and you flex it like this, they're going to come together and break.
Yeah.
So what you have to use is what's called a surface mount LED, which is basically like a little computer chip. But the problem with them is, unless you're buying in huge millions of quantities of them, you're going to get them that only are emitting light in 180 degrees as opposed to something like this. So they're only, which has no ability to penetrate. So because it's not penetrating, you're not affecting enough cells. And so results are not that good. They're also typically, not always, but typically pretty weak LEDs. One of the devices that's on the market now that got FDA clearance, but it was so weak that the FDA basically mandated it to have no less than a 30-minute treatment on an area, which is like, that's a really long time.
Yeah.
And We have FDA clearances for 3 minutes on an area, for 5 minutes on an
Wow.
area. And so these companies typically haven't lasted. That's and when I say flexible, most of these masks are somewhat flexible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's similar reasons why they don't work really great. But mostly they don't have very many LEDs. They'll have 12 to 40. One of them's got, I don't know, 70 or 80. We've done research for 2 years on it because they're really selling well. These masks are
I
really
know.
well.
I bought one. I told you that before we started filming.
But I don't see them working, though, is what I don't see. Really, it would take more like 250 to 350 LEDs in a mask to actually work really well.
Wow.
And yeah, so
And
then
is that at like a certain what would it be, wattage, like certain power?
no, it isn't. So that's another fallacy actually that's perpetuated on the internet, is that somebody will go, "Oh, our device puts out X number of milliwatts or X number of joules." It's like so. But if you look at the engineering of the device, it has some barriers to efficacy, like a barrier to deep penetration, and nobody's talking about penetration. And penetration is the biggest thing in LED. And here's the reason: if you're only able to light up the skin and you're not getting any penetration in a 1-inch square, you're treating 19 million cells whose sole job is the skin. Okay, so it's not so important to your life or your health or anything like that. If you could go down an inch and cube that, or even 3/4 of an inch, now instead of 19 million cells, you're affecting 400 to 600 million cells who have a huge variety of jobs throughout the body.
And that's like deep in too, right? Not just on the surface.
3/4 to
Okay.
an inch, and there are 400 to 600 million cells. So I would rather be treating 400 million cells with 2 joules of energy than to treat 19 million that only have to do with my skin with 100 joules. I don't care how much. Like for health and wellness, I want to treat as many cells as I can with some LED. And I know there's going to be a positive effect. So that's a huge thing that's nobody's talking about.
Thank you for listening to this clip from the full episode of Eyes Wide Open. Please like and subscribe for daily clips and new episodes that drop every Tuesday. I appreciate you.